Now, if you're a type A personality, or what former FBI negotiator Chris Voss says is an aggressive type, then it's going to be a lot tougher for you with communication. For one, you're not going to like these. Hello there, welcome to Maximum Human Performance. I'm your human performance expert, Brad Valancourt. Welcome to episode 5. Today we're going to talk about communication. Now, to some of you, communication might be, second nature. That's great. Now, if you're a type A personality, or what former FBI negotiator Chris Voss says is an aggressive type, then it's going to be a lot tougher for you with communication. For one, you're not going to like these awkward pauses. And yes, I will take out all the pauses that I can in this podcast during the editing. Don't worry, you assertive types. So if you're the type of person that loves to correct or find solutions to problems, then communicating is going to be difficult. One, you're going to try to solve problems that aren't there, or you're going to try and solve people's problems when they're not ready to solve them. How's that so? When people tell you a problem, they're not always ready to hear a solution. Sometimes they just want to be heard, and sometimes them talking about it out loud helps them to figure out what the solutions are, and that's more important to them than to hear what a possible solution is from somebody else. Maybe you're like Amy. Amy's a typical high achiever. However, when it comes to communicating, it can be really difficult. She's so goal-oriented that when it comes to trying to solve problems, she'll look for problems that aren't there just so that she can do something to flex her problem-solving muscles. Now, when it comes to the aggressive types or type A personalities, it can be real difficult to go through life and not stop and smell the roses once in a while. Because all you want to do is have goals and then meet those goals, which is great. But sometimes stopping and smelling the roses and taking a look around can give us a lot to think about and also give us more appreciation in our lives, right? And if you think about it, if you can have more appreciation in your life, think of how much more fulfillment you'll have. For Amy, when it came time to create and nurture relationships, that was super tough because all she could think about is, what can I get out of this? How can I make this a win-win? What can I do to create a transactional relationship? And even though that was going on in her subconscious, that's the kind of stuff that she was looking for, and that was it. If she didn't see an immediate outcome, then there was no way she was going to pursue it because she feared, it's a waste of time. But is that true? No, because you can have all kinds of fun experiences, but it's not what she's looking for because she's only goal driven. When you're only goal driven, it's real tough to open things up and find your creative side. If you're this type of person, as soon as you try to meet somebody, you know what happens? You get bored. You get bored really quickly because you don't reach out. You don't stretch yourself to try to figure out all these wonderful things that could happen in a creative side of the brain. When this happens, you get bored. You get bored so quickly, you don't even bother trying to create anything. All you try to think about is, why does this not logically make sense? And as we know, everything in life makes logical sense. Eventually, Amy got so shut down that it was just her and the animals. She had all these wonderful animals, which is really nice to have, but it's the reason behind it. If you're that type of person that surrounds yourself with other things or animals just so that you can surround yourself with some, quote, love, is that really love? No, they're using that as a coping mechanism. And we got to get you out of using coping mechanisms, because you're not solving any problems. You're hiding from them. And for somebody who loves to solve problems, this is your time. This is your time to shine. In fact, Amy got so shut down that instead of hanging around more and more people, she would be around less and less people, but more and more animals, because she would trust the animals and she would trust herself, but not trust anybody else, which has led to a wonderful, huge farm, but a huge shutdown on the inside. And her business suffered because of it. If you're like Amy and you can't control everything, then you're going to shut down. And not only shut down, but you're going to stop trusting. When you stop trusting, then your world gets smaller and smaller, and your opportunities get smaller and smaller, not just in business, but also when it comes to your social life. Because if you think about it, when you trust less, then less opportunities come towards you because you're just not ready for it. As time went on, Amy stopped going to restaurants because she didn't want to try anything new. She would just stick to the same places, eating the same foods, because that's what she trusted. And the more she trusted herself, the less she trusted other people, situations, and she started to enclose herself more and more with just a super small environment. She became so starved for attention that didn't involve the animals that she got into these horrible relationships with just anyone that could tolerate her. So these relationships were short-lived and extremely volatile. Think about it. How many relationships have you had that were like that? Because you were in a situation and you were at a time in your life feeling that way. How did you get out of those relationships? Have you gotten out of those relationships? Is it because you have yet to trust anybody else, or because you're so tired of getting hurt that you refuse to trust anybody else? If that's the case, think of what your future is going to look like. Pretty lonely, right? Very lonely. Amy's work suffered so badly that she had to quit. She had to shut down and just completely start over and go work for somebody else. Because even though she was around animals all day long at her work, which is what she really loved, it just wasn't doing it anymore, because people that own these animals would not trust her because she didn't trust them. And boy, they could smell it, right? When somebody doesn't trust you, they can smell it. Their natural instincts kick in, and hey, if they don't trust you, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance at all. Not only did she have to change her work, but more and more coping mechanisms started popping up, right? Alcohol, using debauchery to try to get some sort of positive feeling in her life. And it lasted way too long. She got hurt way too many times because who she was attracting was not who she really wanted in her life. She was not congruent with herself, and therefore she wasn't congruent with anybody in her life. What's it take for a type A personality or aggressive type to come out of their shell and start trusting people and start living a more fulfilled life? Like with any problem in life, you've got to find the root cause. You find the root cause or causes, you're going to erase what those issues are. You're going to start living that fulfilled life with far less stress, right? You're going to get those monkeys off your back, and you're going to have a lot more to love. A lot more to love yourself, a lot more to love for other people. Those relationships, business and personal, are going to flourish. But you've got to get to the root causes. Here's what worked for Amy. You see, when Amy was 10, her parents separated, which was devastating for her. I mean, just imagine a 10-year-old who was just loving life. Everything was honky-dory. Everything was so great. And then all of a sudden, your parents tell you one day that they're going to separate. Imagine going from having everything just so amazing in your life to within weeks, you're searching around, looking around for any coping mechanism that can soothe you. To soothe you, I mean, you're past that infant stage. You don't need a soother anymore. But for her, that's what she was looking for. Something to hang on to so that she could have a little bit of trust that she knew would never leave her. And unfortunately, it wasn't anything positive that she found. She looked for anything and everything to numb her pain. I mean, this is a 10-year-old, and she was looking to numb her pain. By the time she was 12, she was coping with not being able to find something to replace the loss of her dad's love, because she figured when her dad found somebody else, that was going to be it for her. And at the age of 12, he found somebody, and she felt completely alone. Completely alone at age 12, when she's turning into a young woman. She would deny it to others, but everybody knew. They could see that something was wrong. She was so withdrawn from life, but it didn't matter to her. She couldn't see it. She was just so zoned in what the problems were and not what the solutions could be. She was definitely not in the mindset of something positive where she was looking for a solution. She was still in victim mode. And when you're stuck in a victim mode, and I've been in a victim mode before, it sucks. You hate life. You figure that there's no way that life can get any better. That's just not true. You've got to get yourself out of feeling like a victim and into more of feeling like the victor. Like, hey, nothing's going to stop me. This is what I want out of life that's going to help me be a more positive person, not only to myself, but to others as well. And that's the important thing. You've got to have a purpose in life. When it comes to communication, it's no different. You have a purpose, then you can learn to communicate that with others, and you can help others with their goals. They can help you with yours. As Amy got into adulthood, she tried more and more coping mechanisms instead of trying to communicate with herself to figure out what the issues were. And all that led to was down a horrible pathway of nothing but self-defeat and so much trouble, not only for her but also for her family, which just made life super difficult for everybody, including those who tried to love her. She just was not open for it. When Amy finally started allowing more people into her life, more of the people that she could trust, truly trust, then that helped her life flourish. Not only did she stop jumping from job to job every 6 months, but she also was living in a new place every 6 months on top of that. Imagine living a life like that where you're just trying to hide from yourself and there's nowhere to hide. As she started trusting herself more, she started trusting other people more, and she started finding gigs that were so much better for her, longer lasting. She even started up her own business and started helping other people and other animals without having to surround herself with just animals and hide all the time. She even got rid of her hobby farm and focused solely on her business so that she could take care of other people's animals and talk to other people, talk to farmers, and surround herself with more and more people that she could trust to help her grow her business, but also grow her personal life too. Now keep in mind, when it comes to communication, not everybody is looking for our answers. They're just looking to be heard. And that could be huge for someone, just being that listening ear. You have an employee, maybe you have a loved one who keeps coming to you every day with the same problem over and over again. Okay, maybe it's time to say something. Just ask them, does it make you feel any better to talk about it, or does it just soothe the issue temporarily? If it's just a soothing mechanism, then let them know in a gentle and constructive way. When these people see how much you care without judging them, that's going to mean the world to them. They'll come to you in greater respects. They'll even come to you in ways that will help your life out, not just be self-serving. And when you listen with your own heart, it's a lot easier to let go of your own agenda of trying to solve or trying to pinpoint issues, trying to judge, because all you do is allow yourself to open up to them so that they can do what they need to do, whether it be to just allow themselves to be heard or allow you to help them, right? Collaborate together. How awesome is that when they are ready for that? How awesome is that? When your friends and family stop asking you about your day, maybe it's time for you to open up to them and let them know in a very constructive way, in a very non-judgmental way, that you care for them, you love them, and you're there for them. And leave it at that. By doing that, that gives them the space that they're looking for, makes them feel more comfortable, more at ease, and they're much more likely to come to you when they are ready. Not to mention, it lets them know how genuine you are and how much you unconditionally love them. When you genuinely develop a curiosity in other people, boy, it's really cool what the creative mind will do, because you'll have a lot more fun with these people. They'll get these connections that you never thought were possible, and the collaboration that can happen, whether it be for business or for relationships, they grow so wonderfully, so wonderfully. It's one thing to be goal-oriented and allow that left brain, right, that analytical side to flourish. But you want to partner that with the creative side. I love the quote by Albert Einstein, who says, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant." The two go hand in hand, and by separating them, you see a huge detachment. And this happens with anybody. So by having the two together, right, that creative side that allows for the rational mind to help, and that's where you have companies like Apple come together and say, wow, look what they created. look at the two go together. Apple is a great example of that. So if you're having trouble with communicating, whether it be for work or with your personal life, look inside, try to figure out what is it that's causing this. Do I have root causes that are creating these problems, and how do I get these problems out of my life, right? When you do that, you're going to have so much more fulfillment. You're going to have a huge smile on your face most of the time, and being around people won't be so bad. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We want to make sure that you get all the tips you need so that you can have the most fulfilled life, whether it be for business or your personal life. Why not have fulfillment in both?